Second. Okay.
Are we good?
Cool. We are live. It is the Newcastle breaking news, and we're here with Morgan Boyd. Morgan Boyd, tell us why you're on here today.
Well, I mean, you reached out to me, and thank you, and thank you for reaching out. But I'm running right now for the Republican nomination for Lawrence County Commissioner,
and you're going to get it. I'm very confident that Morgan Boyd's going to be one of our next Lawrence County commissioners. And
hey, we'll find out here in less than a week.
Yeah, it's coming up, guys. You know what? On that note, I posted a find a location. That's our business cat. I posted a poll location finder. So all you do is you put in your address, and then it will tell you where you can go and vote at. It's that easy. When you get there, there's people that chauffeur you around and show you what to do. So don't be worried. There's people along every step of the way to help you. Again, make sure that you set aside some time, reserve some time, even talk to your employer now. Make sure you're at least having that conversation where you have the flexibility to go and make it to the poll, because again, this is a really important election, especially in Newcastle. The county, we're going to get into how important it is for county commissioner too. That's an extremely important job, and we were talking about that last night. There was one more thing on that poll locator is also going to be located inside of our sign-up sheet. What we're going to be able to do for you is you're going to be able to locate what precinct or what ward you'll be voting in and select which one. And from there, we're going to have the candidates be able to come pick you up. If that so be an option for you. So you'll be able to select which candidate you would like to facilitate you a ride. And that's going to go up probably whenever I feel like making it onto the spreadsheet. So probably on either tonight or Friday morning. And I might even forego any of the actual polls just to make sure that stays up for the rest of the week. Obviously, our philosophy on the breaking news is you can make whatever you want. So, the community has already kind of taken over our role in making those polls anyway. So, and there's actually, they're a lot more interesting than mine. At some point, you can just tell I'm reaching. So Morgan Boyd, normally we ask 5 questions from a mayor. We don't have that today. We did poll our guys, our base, whatever.
Everybody in the group.
Our group, yes, that's what it's called. Our group. We polled our group, and we've come up with the biggest 4 questions. And you and I have just had a history of having a very organic conversation. So we're gonna go with whatever we feel like talking about. So let's start with it. Yeah, let's start with the number 1 question: is what is a commissioner's primary function?
Yeah, I love it. No, that's probably the question that you go out when you're hitting the doors, that you get the second most. The first one being for me, how old are you?
I'm writing that one down.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love fielding that one. But no, that's the second most. A lot of people don't know what the role of the county commissioners is. And that's because, there's essentially 2 components to it, right? The first is the state mandates that counties carry out a whole host of different services. So for example, one of the departments that's directly under the commissioners is the county assessor's office. And what the assessor's office does is they go in and they look at your property value, and they place a number to it for tax assessment purposes, right?
Right.
Other things, other departments under the commissioners include children youth services, which work with at-risk children, planning and community development, which if you go into the county's website and you look at any of the long-term plans that they have, the comprehensive plan, we just came out with a multimodal study highlighting some of the different transportation grids we have here, housing study. Those plans are all run through county planning. Other than that, the election office, which is run by Ed Allison, that's overseen by the commissioners. That's, there's numerous departments that are under the commissioners that we would have direct responsibility for. There's also a whole host of other departments under other elected officials, the line officers. So like you have the treasurer, Rich Rapone, who's responsible for county tax collection.
Yeah.
You have the district attorney. I don't really think I need to explain what he does.
He called me today.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he going to come on?
Yes, he is. We're actually gonna be talking with him in some facet. We haven't really talked about what, but I kind of shared some ideas of what I wanted to hear from him. But yeah, great guy. Again,
oh my God,
yeah,
he's done an outstanding job in that position. An outstanding job. You hear a lot about the drugs and the crime in the city of Newcastle. Josh is doing more than anyone to help clean those problems up, working with the police, working with the state, to try to make Newcastle a safer place. And he's doing, as good a job as anyone could possibly do.
Yeah, he's putting a lot of sweat in.
Yeah.
That's definitely something. Something we like. We like people that like their job.
Yeah, we just saw him actually. We had a borough council meeting a week ago, and he came up and he talked about the county has a response unit. That all the different municipalities with their police forces have the option of joining in. And he asked us, he gave us a short presentation at the beginning of the meeting for the borough police to come in and join that unit. And so we're looking at our solicitors reviewing that agreement right now. And we'll see about, making a decision on that at the June meeting. But yeah, he's always, those meetings are, 6:30 at night. He's still working at 6:30 at night.
You're involved in a lot. You're involved. You're getting involved in everything. There's not something that's going on that I haven't heard, where you've been a part of everything. So it's safe to say you're probably going to be one of the most prepared people for this job.
Well, thank you. I hope so. I've kind of geared, when I started school, when I started council, I wasn't really looking at commissioner. The person that planted the seed at my head was actually a guy named Tom McKinley, who is the president of the Wilmington Area Chamber of Commerce. And we were having lunch one day, and he said, have you ever thought about running for commissioner? And I just kind of laughed. I was like, no, no. And then you start thinking about it. You wake up one morning. Oh, what if I ran for commissioner? You start. All right, let's start looking at some policies. Let's start researching what they do. Let's start showing up to a couple meetings. Okay, let's, just for fun, let's put together a platform.
Yeah.
That was like September. And then it was, you know what? I'm going to run.
You're scaring a lot of people. No, you're striking the fear of God in a lot of the incumbents, because you just, you're coming on. Everybody that's heard you speak so far has said that's the guy, and I think that's what we need is more of that young blood in there. And we said, first of all, how old are you? But it is what it is. It's not really how old. Well, okay, go ahead. What do you say to that? Because I know what I would say.
Yeah, the first thing is I got
I got to get rid of him.
I love him.
He was supposed to wear he was supposed to wear a suit and tie today. Because
that would have been the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, my campaign will pay for that. But first thing you do is you say, because I get that a lot. They open the door, they get a little wide-eyed, like, oh my God, this guy's running for commissioner. He's, hang on, I think these things went out again. I just bought these.
I can hear you fine.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
All right, they're back. I just bought these today for this interview. I was telling you that before that, and so we're playing. But anyway, and the first thing you say is, all right, look, I'll own that. I'm 21. I'll absolutely own that. But let's go over what I've done in the past, just a few years, right? I have legislative experience. I have policy making experience. I've written ordinances. I'm on, a borough council in a town of 2,500 people.
Yeah.
Budget of $4 million, fund balance of $5.5 million. chair of the Council Economic Development Committee, chair of the Council Sanitation Committee, right? I oversee a multi-municipal sewage plant, the administrative functions of that. It provides sewage for the Wilmington Borough, Wilmington Township, Mercer County, and Wilmington Township, Lawrence County. I sit on our finance committee, right? So I'm involved in the budget making process
already.
Yeah, in terms of education, right?
Yeah.
I'm at Carnegie Mellon right now for my master's in public policy and management.
That's the number one program in the country, isn't it?
It's number one for analytics.
Okay.
I think in aggregate, like the entire program, it's in the top 10.
Yeah.
It's up there with, Harvard Kennedy, whatever the University of Chicago's is. It's up there. It's in the top 10. It's top 10 program. But I've had the opportunity there to, one of my professors last semester was the guy that put together the Amazon deal for Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I heard you talking about that. That was one of the people that was a mentor to you or something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Another person was this past semester, the Pittsburgh city planner, who before he was the planner for the city of Pittsburgh, he was the planner for Manhattan. I mean, just those connections alone. And then you start talking to people, that they bring in, and you start networking and talking with alum. I've had conversations about development. Oh, I love it. I've had conversations about development with the guys down in Pittsburgh, Rebecca and Katrina Flora, who are developing the single largest unused parcel of land in the city of Pittsburgh, Hazelwood Green, 178-acre piece of property, mixed-use development. So I've had conversations with individuals like that. I mean, it's just an incredible program where, not only am I implementing this stuff in real life in New Wilmington,
right. I was going to say there's a lot of inspiration for big pieces of property for you. So there's definitely benefits there.
Exactly. So not only are we learning about this in the New Wilmington, or implementing this in the New Wilmington Borough, but I'm going and educating myself on best practices from, the people at the foremost of their fields anywhere in the world. So, and then on top of that, I also say, the family company, we grow grass for golf courses and distribute it all over the Eastern Seaboard. And so I do a little work with that. Nothing mentally. I'm the physical labor. I'm the gopher. I'm the grunt. I'm the guy installing.
So I don't know if you heard this, and I don't want to blindside you with this. You can say pass if you want to, but your name came up, and I don't know where. It was a meeting, and I heard it. This is secondhand, so it could even not be true. Yeah. But your name came up the other day, and someone made the comment that you're too young to know what work is, or something. It was something along those lines. Is like, why would you vote for this guy who doesn't understand you, and because you work and this guy hasn't had a job yet?
No, that's actually, I like that. No, the reality is, if you don't classify, a 16-hour day with, we went down to Nemacolin and we put in the new course at Nemacolin, and we did that in 3 days. If you don't classify those 16-hour days of hard physical labor, were you the brains of that operation? Were you the guy? Where were you doing it at there? I was doing a little bit of everything. You drive the skidster loader, to take whatever pallets you need off the delivery trucks and get them to the job site. You actually physically go in and lay the sod, right, with your hand. You're on your hands and knees. You're pushing seams together with a rake because it lays out like carpet.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
It's the coolest. Yeah, no one does. We've had people. I've been on job sites where it's an active country club, right? Yeah. And so you have golfers that are going through and they skip the hole you're working on, but they just come and they stare at you guys. We have a machine. It's a big roll of turf. The rolls are usually like 3 foot by 90 foot, so it's a big roll.
It's like hay bales almost, or I'm just unrolling it.
Yeah, exactly. You roll it down and you push the seams together and you sand but you do that you do that until the job's done. You wake up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning and you go until you can't go anymore when the job's done.
So you've got some big ideas for the future.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got some plans in place or already that you do plan on executing
Yeah,
once you get the commissioner job.
absolutely. And I would also like to say that I'm, to the best of my knowledge, I'm the only person who's put out a public policy platform that's running for this job. I'm the only person so
Yeah,
far out of both the Republican and the Democratic candidates who has said, you know what, I could say I'm going to go in and we're going to do great things for the economy.
sure.
Oh, we're gonna build our labor force. We're gonna be tough on crime. And then that's it. It's lip service. I'm the only person who has gone in and on, my website, morganboyd.com, literally laid out, here's the problem. Here's stats that back up why this is a problem, or stats that back up the solution that I'm gearing towards fixing that problem. Here's what I'm going to do. Only person.
Yeah, guys, I'm just going to plug you here. If you go on to Morgan Boyd's Facebook and link it to this site after too, you'll see daily he puts out something that he's going to do. So you hit these big marks. Like in Newcastle right now, we're hitting 3 big marks. Right, we're hitting blight, potholes, and Act 47. Right, so any talking head right now is going to say those 3 things. Morgan Boyd is putting out something daily, like this is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong, that's wrong. And that's something I really respect. That I can't say I watch every one of them, and I'm sure you don't watch everything I put out either. But a lot of those things, they're very intriguing and they're very interesting, but they're solutions. They're real life solutions that make absolute sense. And that's one of the reasons why. And I should say this too, any other person running is welcome to reach out to me and we'll get you on. We'll try and fit you in before the election. If I need to run the gauntlet or the gamut on everybody, we can do that. But that said, you're the only one I've seen so far in running that's doing something like that daily. And it's go ahead.
No, continue.
I was just going to say it's a little thing that makes a big difference.
Well, I don't want to be the guy. I never, you see all these letters, you get these letters from me because I didn't want to be that guy. For better or for worse, here I'm telling everybody, if you elect me, this is what I'm doing. And you can hold me accountable to that, by the way, 4 years from now, if I decide to run for re-election. It's all public. It's all on Facebook. It's on my website. And also, if you see something that's wrong with one of my policy proposals, you're given the option. It's public comment on it if you disagree with what I'm saying. And I will happily defend it. Or, if for whatever reason, and I don't think that any of them would be, but if for whatever reason I was proven wrong, I will openly admit that and we'll adjust the plan.
I enjoy being wrong. That's you gotta do it. You have to do it. As a politician, you have to. I think I have more respect for the people that say, you know what, I had a thought in my head that I thought was real, and you've shown me a different light.
Yeah, and that's because you know what, I don't have all the I don't have all the right answers. No one running at all has all the right answers. I've heard incredible ideas from candidates from all over the spectrum. I've heard poor ideas from candidates all over the spectrum. But the important part is that we get out to let's identify problems. Identifications, that's the first step in solving anything. But let's put forward solutions.
Yeah,
and then debate those in the public realm.
Yeah, public debates. It's important.
That one last night was awesome. By the way, that was, I thought that came together really well. And the other thing is, what everybody didn't see is after the debate was over, we all went out to the bar at Elham's, and Chris and Al were there, and I was there, Dan, you were there, and we were all just talking, like just normal, friends. It was like a debate hadn't even happened. It was, as civil as it gets. They got into the arena. They, threw a few punches at each other. They outlined a few policy points. And then they, they had a couple drinks afterwards and laughed like they'd been friends forever. which I thought was commendable.
Yeah, those guys. I told you before. I told you during, and I told you after. I gave them loaded questions. I was really playing devil's advocate, and neither of them took the bait. So for that, I've got a lot of respect for that. I'm really good at asking those pointed questions that can kind of go either way, because I've gotten to spend probably more time with each of them on their campaigns and on their ideas, and I know that their main points of contingent or points of just their points of problems with each other, but they point of contention, that's the word, but they really got a mutual respect after that. I think after that they really respected each other, and that to me was amazing. It was great to watch happen, and I was really happy with the way they had actually acted. So
I mean, afterwards, you hear them both saying, whatever happens next week, whoever wins, whoever is not is unfortunate and doesn't cross that threshold, we're still going to support the other, because that's what we do.
Yeah, they're in unity. I can't say the same for the other side.
The other side won't even come together to debate. They won't even meet for that.
You know what? I'll say this: their official responses to me, which, I mean, okay, it's believable. They're everybody except Rhonda Dam. Rhonda Dam wanted to debate. She wanted to debate from day one. Their official responses was there wasn't enough time. And so that said, did you catch that? Did you catch what I said?
No, I didn't catch that.
I said, don't worry about it. I said their official response was there wasn't enough time. So that, I mean, we've got time. We're on here talking to you today. It could have been them. But,
I mean, I was hitting the doors today. I was hitting the doors early in the morning. At the end of the day, there's okay.
That time was the official response. Yes, I mean, I won't say any more. There was more from each of them, but it's not really worth pointing out, and it's not worth being subjective over. So we talked about what departments a county operates. we kind of right. That's the conversation.
That's what we do.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point of this, is just to explain to people how smart you are. But we talked about how they function. Let me ask you this then, since we've already talked about it, what do you think are improvements inside of the departments that you feel you can, maybe they're not lacking, but that you feel you're going to make the most impact on?
I mean, first and foremost, and I don't know the internal processes of the county. I'm not on those email threads. But I can tell you from my perspective, you have all these different department heads. In my mind, in consulting, right? When you're going to work for McKinsey or Deloitte or whoever, they have something called sprint reports, which are, so you go in at the end of every week, you say, all right, this is what we've done this week, just the big bullet points. These are our goals for next week. These are our goals for the month. And then, you could do, these are our goals for the year if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And then here's some problems that we're having that we might need you to step in and help us resolve. And so you get those every week. You read through those. And effectively, you let the professor, right? I'm not a child psychologist, right? I'm not going to be doing the work of CYS. But if there's something that, comes up in one of those reports that I could be of assistance, lend my hand, help out, maybe put them in touch with the right people.
Yeah.
Those kind of reports help you, be informed. I'm not, I'm not a property assessor. I have no idea how to go out and make a property assessment on to levy property taxes for a set. I can't do that. I have no idea how to do that. But if a problem comes up that, they want help with, maybe they need these resources, maybe they need to talk to this person, maybe they need to, those kind of reports can help bring those things to the forefront, and you can, have a more effective county government. Now, what were we going to say?
I was gonna say also, I think what a lot of people don't get is that, there's things that when you sort of crowdsource, or when you sort of get feedback from everybody, there might be something in there that you can add that is good, so go ahead.
Yeah, that's it's like there's a wisdom of the crowds approach or something like that.
Yeah.
One person, you can go in and make an estimate for something. Odds are, if you get 3 people together or 5 people together, it's going to take a little longer to make that estimate, but you'll come out with, a better solution.
Yeah.
So
that's why, result.
Yeah, that's why, township supervisors, are 3 of them. Borough council, there's 7 of them. Newcastle City Council, 5 of them, plus the mayor. That's part of it. It's you get better results that way. There might be slower, but you get better results.
Yeah, and that's what you want to. That's definitely you want to be able to have that input from everybody, and whether it's an administrative task, a workflow task, a lot of things all come down to workflow and efficiency.
Yeah,
and government is notoriously bad for workflow efficiency. So it's having somebody in there with a background like you do from Carnegie Mellon would definitely make a huge impact on that. At least that's the way I'm looking at it. Because I know already just from management skills and things like that. That's an important piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, how you structure things is everything. In terms of management. Can you streamline processes? Are there certain processes you don't want to streamline? Chain of command, who reports, how you structure things is a big part of the foundation for the success of any enterprise.
You had a great analogy yesterday. It was about, each part of government is a functioning government body. How did you say that? You know what I'm talking about?
Was it the government as a system?
Yeah, government as a system.
Yeah. When we're running these campaigns, and this can apply to everything, but when we're running these campaigns, and I'm as guilty as anyone, we have a tendency to lump things into buckets, right? These policies are geared toward, and if you go to my website, I'm doing it just because it's for messaging purposes, it's the most efficient way to do it. Right. But, these policies are going to solve all of our problems with economic development. These policies are going to solve all of our labor force issues. These policies are going to solve the streets. Well, the reality is everything ties into everything. It's a system. Think of the human body, right? If there's something wrong or something pushing up against the brain, it's going to affect something somewhere else.
Yeah.
In terms of mathematics, you can think of it like a system of, dependent variables, where if you wiggle one, right, you make one turn from a 5 to a 7, 5 or 6 more are going to wiggle. So like for example, right, we know crime is tied to economic development. It's tied to median income levels. It's tied to finances. So if you increase, if you raise the economic standard of living, crime rate is gonna decrease.
Yeah.
You're getting at different issues by working at them and understanding that they all tie together in this same sort of system.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that analogy, and it makes the most sense. Helping people understand that fixing. It's not about fixing the roads. It's fixing the roads brings in jobs, or it's not about getting blight away. It's about the fact that removing blight raises property value.
Yeah, raises property value and decreases crime.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, again, it all ties together.
Yeah, and that's helping people understand that the reasons why those things are so important is because they're so connected with each other. So let me ask you this. The majority of this is Newcastle. What do you think? What do you think what do you think when you're elected? What do you think your effects on Newcastle would be? I know that's a tough question. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope, just a generality positive.
Yeah.
But my big focus is, and we're going back into the buckets just because it's, again, messaging purposes, and because, certain policies are geared towards one primary purpose that then flows into. But my big goal is economic development, right? How can we bring in jobs to Newcastle? And not just, my focus is always been small businesses, just because I think they're the real I really do think they're the backbone of a community.
Yeah.
And if you look at the statistics too, and that's part of what I do. The amount of revenue, the percentage of revenue that's returned to a community by a big box store or a large corporate, an Amazon, a Google.
It's like 8%.
The one I saw was 15, but it's still ballpark, right?
Okay, yeah.
And then you go to a locally owned small business, the percentage of gross revenues returned to the community is 50%. I mean, yeah, just right there. I mean, the small business owner is the guy that's going in, and there's a thing you see on Facebook all the time, right? It's the small business owners that are donating to the local soccer team,
right,
or baking cookies to raise money for the musical, or going in and organizing a citywide cleanup. That's my focus is in terms of business. And again, we have policies in place. This isn't just lip service. I have, policies in place on the website, and I'm happy to flesh out any that anyone might want, on here. The other thing is labor force. A lot of people focus on jobs, jobs, which makes sense. That's what, a crucial component of any economy. At the same time, you have to have people, available and qualified to work those jobs. So, right. I had a laugh. I saw someone somewhere comment, and I don't know if it was a joke or not. Let's try to attract Amazon to Newcastle. Well, you get 50,000 jobs all of a sudden in the city of Newcastle. We don't have the manpower to work those jobs.
Right.
And so part of it is that. Part of it is, from a labor force standpoint, is number one, keeping young people, young individuals here so they can work job either as, a bedroom community where they're coming back to here, or as, a local labor force working local jobs here, partnering them up with EQS or UPMC Jameson, or, any of the Bruce and Merrill's, any of the numerous companies. Part of that is attracting new people. So that's my big focus. The other thing, in terms of the city of Newcastle, is there is not a working relationship. Oh, thank you. Not a working relationship between the city and the county at all. They don't talk. They don't communicate. They really are not coordinating to fix. And that's a problem simply because I was talking to one of the Shenango supervisors, and I use this all the time, and I got to give him credit because it was a great analogy, Brandon Rischel. And he made the analogy that, if you look at the county as a mall and Newcastle as the anchor tenant, if you ever in the real world, if you get a mall with a poor, one sec.
We're the Spencers of that.
With a poor anchor tenant. There we go.
Yeah.
You're something.
I said we're the Spencers of the mall.
There we go. We're back in.
Yeah.
With a poor anchor tenant, you're not going to have a very good mall.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. And the other thing that you have to consider is the vast majority of people in the county have their address, the end of their address is Newcastle, PA. So they carry with them the stigma of the city. Neshannock, for example, I know that the Neshannock office is actually, they've started addressing their envelopes Neshannock, PA. Because just because they want to rebrand, they want to brand themselves as, we're Neshannock. So, if you want to fix the problems with the county, I think a big part of that starts with communicating and doing a better job working with the county's largest municipality.
You've gotten to know a lot of people in Newcastle.
Just over the past couple of months.
I was gonna say over the past couple of months. There's not one person when when we bring them on, I mean, they mention Morgan Boyd, that, Morgan Boyd this, Morgan Boyd that. So you've made a real impact here, and I think it's a really positive thing. That said, there's a lot of people that are hoping that you make it inside of the government, inside of the Newcastle government, because they say that's the guy. That's the guy that's going to bring us a lot of positive change. So that said, working with and opening the communication with Newcastle, there are some people. How do you plan to do that?
I mean, the first thing is communication is simple. Communicate. Pick up the phone, meet the mayor for lunch. Have go to the Newcastle City Council meetings. Go to the other. This has always been interesting. I've been on New Wilmington Borough Council for a year and a half, right? I've never seen the commissioners at a borough council meeting. Ever.
Really?
Ever. That to me is I just can't fathom that. I mean, you have to be involved. And my experience, just from talking to the other supervisors and council members around the county, that's not a unique experience.
Really?
Yeah. It's not from what I'm hearing from around the county. And, feel free to go in and question whoever. I've received 2 communications from the county in a year and a half. The first was Dan Vogler, and this was very nice of him. He didn't have to do this, and it was very nice. He sent me a letter saying, congratulations on getting elected. Okay. Very nice. The second was a letter saying that we wouldn't be eligible for liquid fuels money. And liquid fuels money is what you use to pave streets.
Okay.
That's it.
That's the only 2 communications.
That's it.
And you plan on changing that?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to rebuild, I don't want to say rebuild. If you're going to start moving Lawrence County forward, you have to be in constant communication with the municipalities. I don't care. It could be SNPJ. SNPJ has a population of less than 20. They're part of Lawrence County. It doesn't, I was laughing. Somebody posted yesterday. I was walking along in Southside. I was going door to door in Southside. And, talking to people, they had never seen that before. They'd never seen a county commissioner candidate going door to door, especially a Republican candidate going door to door on Southside Newcastle. Yeah. I'm planning on being present.
There were, I recall that there were actually a lot of posts on our group, saying, "Hey, this guy came, thanks for coming down here." And that's, that's a statement, that's a statement that says what we want it to say. We're all here, we're all in this together, and we need as many people involved in the community as possible. And I think we're doing a good job of that. I think you're doing a good job of getting out to people, especially, using the digital marketing. So what do you think when you're elected? What do you think your day is going to look like?
I mean, the job of the county commissioner is so complex. I don't think there's such thing as a typical day. I would imagine, you go into the office. First thing you do is you check you check your emails, right? You look and you see who's contacting you, who's reached out to you. You go in and, yeah,
they're talking about me, but.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Either that or it could very well be the cat. I mean, I was impressed.
Business cat. He's behind the scenes right now.
But anyway, you go in from there, it depends on what you're trying to achieve for the day. One day I could be working on trying to bring in a business incubator. So, that day would be spent coordinating with individuals, from Youngstown, the Youngstown Business Incubator, talking to them, right? How'd you guys structure it? What'd you guys do? That we can kind of, essentially copy, replicate, in our own unique fashion. Talking to people, like I just had a meeting, a couple weeks ago. I think it was a couple weeks. The days blur together anymore. Right. With Sandy Curry, who was involved in incubators from Linden Point in Hermitage to, they're starting one down in Beaver Falls. They're working on one over in Butler. In fact, just touching on incubators, if we don't get one, every single surrounding county is going to have one. We're going to be left in the dust. We need.
I have told you before, whatever you need for me to help you facilitate that, I'll do. That's probably the breaking news. Is next project is working with you on the incubators, because I assume that's it, whether you get elected or not. I assume you're going to be involved in that, and so
anyway. Yeah, I mean, we need one, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be. I can't see the comments because we're in our own separate window. But thanks for putting these ones up. I appreciate that. But what were we talking about?
Business incubators and in memory.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the goal is just to bring one in. You don't need you don't even need a physical location. It could be a digital one. We live in a global economy. You could structure one online, and I mean, you brought up, it was an excellent point yesterday, software.
Well, no, I'm saying what we're doing right now. I mean, I can get 6 people in this room. Yeah,
exactly. Collaborate that way. And you brought up a good point after the debate. We were talking about this briefly. The software that's being developed out there, you don't need a physical. You know what you need to develop software? A computer, a laptop. Other than that, you could be anywhere. I mean, there's so much potential, even if we can't get something like a physical space, and I'm not sure Newcastle is Lawrence County are ready to be branded as a tech place. I think that might be a little far-fetched for us. Our largest industry right now is agriculture. To flip that over the course of 2 or 3 terms to a focus on tech, maybe we can attract a couple companies.
Give me some time. Give me some time.
And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And I'm all for trying to attract 10 companies. But yeah, back to that incubator. It doesn't need to be physical space. I'd like it to be a physical space just because I think that's a model that's worked historically. Hell, Newcastle is. I was reading some articles on it. It was ranked. There's some ranking over in Sweden. They look at all the different business incubators from around the world. Newcastle's was ranked 1 or 2. I'm not sorry, not Newcastle's. Youngstown's was ranked number 1 or number 2.
Yeah, I have a friend that went there, and he pulled a lot away. He took a lot away, and I think he was one of the ones that were helping. And I got invited. We got invited to that. I never ended up going. Just the time constraints here, but yeah, it's. I heard it was an amazing experience to go there. Yeah. Did you go or no?
I actually haven't had the incubators I've been to. There's been one in Pittsburgh, on the North Shore. I actually met with the developer responsible for it, but they took an old mall, which where can we find one of those? They took an old mall. They turned it into it was an incubator space and a data center. So, there's a potential. And the other one I've been to is Linden Point up in Hermitage. But yeah, going back to the Youngstown one, 1,500 jobs created, $40 million worth of investment. If there's some way that we can tap into that, I'm behind it full steam.
There's a lot of good ideas out there. There's very little financing for them.
Hang on.
You've got to respect. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I mean, you've got to respect that. You've got to respect that slack economy now. That's what it's all about. And that slack economy is something where, those people are working from home. They're either 1099 agents or they go to an office, which is something I've heard talk of developing now, where it's individual office spaces for people that either work from home or have constraints on what they can do.
Is that what you're talking about? Co-working spaces?
Co-working spaces. Yeah.
There's a market projection for that. By 2030, McKinsey report came out and it said that about 29% roughly of all office space in the United States by 2030 would be co-working.
Yeah. And there was I listened to a podcast the other day with one of the people that originally, was one of the first to introduce it to the market in Chicago,
Yeah.
and it was wildly successful there. So
Yeah.
that's on the to-do list for us, actually.
Yeah. Just go down and look at Beauty Shop in Pittsburgh. Have you heard of that?
No, what is it?
It's a co-working space. It's called Beauty Shop because they took an old beauty shop and literally they moved some desks in, they hooked up some internet, they charged, a very low cost. It's like a membership fee. You charge a very low cost for access to the space.
Yeah.
Some private meeting rooms, a couple different, very low tech, very simple, and it just took off. There's, beauty shops all around the region.
Well, there you go. And how conveniently locate a business incubator right next to that, and you have these low capital startups. That's what's important. Get somebody in front of somebody that programs. Make the connections. And there's so much out there. There's so many different ideas out there that I don't think a lot of people even would understand or have access to. But there's so much there. It's still it's still up for grabs. Apps are still a thing. If anything, they're better now. There's more competitive. There's more ability to compete now than there was 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So and the other thing, what's the famous? There was a building up at MIT. And it was essentially used for everyone. And they took a whole, people that were working on bio projects were in there, people that were working on business, people that were working on.
Is it called the Square Building or something?
No, it was like a building, like building 23 or something like that, building number. I don't know.
There was a building at MIT that had a very literal name. It was like built, and it was called that building.
Oh, I'm sure I'm sure that sounds like a very MIT thing.
Yeah.
As utilitarian as it gets.
Building face.
I wish they named that ship that.
Yeah.
I wish they named Bodie McBoatface.
I'm glad you get that reference. That's a very pop culture reference no one will get. But
yeah, no, that was they did essentially the reference is, for anyone that doesn't know, a company over in Britain, or it might have been the British government, essentially did what Dan does and puts up an open sourced, vote for a name of a ship. And the winning name was someone put it up and it won, was Bodie McBoatface. That's so, you get the pros and cons with crowdsourcing.
That's British humor too.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
But no, so
anyway, yeah, they had this building at MIT, and a whole bunch of, and I wish I had something that came out of it, but you had people that were working in bio collaborating with people working in business that otherwise wouldn't be able to get together, and so they created these incredible products that came out of this building. And I wish I should have done more research on it. I've just read about it in passing, but the only way that worked was they just had a space where they all were, and on the way to lunch they talked. On the way to building 20. Okay, there you go. But you could facilitate sort of something like that with an incubator, where you're creating synergy and people building off of each other. Oh, I've got this great idea here. I've got this great idea here. How can we either A, work with each other to make an even better idea, or B, what can I take from yours? What can you take from mine to make it better?
Yeah, and that's what we're attempting to do here at The Breaking News. And and thank you for being a part of it, really. But
thanks for inviting me. And thanks for, this is you and the organizers at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you guys have done an outstanding job.
Yep. Breaking News team. The Breaking News team has they're killing it. But that's what it's all about. It's absolutely what it's all about, is connecting, is building those connections. And what I'm doing is removing those symbiotics of anything that's, newscasting. And I want people to say, like, this guy, like this Morgan Boyd is right here. He's accessible. Albert Conti, he's accessible. Chris Fry, he's accessible. Anybody that's come on the show, they're accessible people. Michael Delli, you know,
I love Michael Delli.
huge Michael Delli fan. But they're accessible. They're accessible people, and having those micro conversations are so important. And that's why it's so important that you know, someone like you does get in there, because it's someone that understands how valuable those conversations are nowadays, you know, and dealing with everything that you have to deal with in a day. You said it best. You're not going to have all the answers, but there's someone out there, you know. I don't know what he's doing. He might be driving a truck right now. He's got the best. That guy's riding around with the best answer. You know, that's why it's so important to do that, to reach out to people, because you never know. You know, you never know that answer comes.
You know, I remember the very first door I knocked on that somebody invited me into their house was down. It was the first day I was door knocking. It was down in Elwood. And we just got to talking about, you know, I knew nothing about, very little about Elwood before I jumped into this race. I'm going to be honest. I'd never been to Elwood maybe once before I jumped into this race. I've been there probably 20 times now. And if I get elected, I'll be back, you know, 100 times.
Red Hots is why you go to Elwood.
Always.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other one is they have a great. I just ate at it the other day. They have a great Italian place down there. Iko
Luciano, I believe.
Iko Luciano. The penne vodka sauce was just outstanding. But back to the.
Sorry.
We get this is it. We get off track, but
organic conversation.
But we were talking, and you know, oh well, the guy was throwing stuff at me that I would never have known had I not, you know, gone down there and talked. You know, we had this church. You know, we could do this with this church, build it into a restaurant, do this. Well, what do you think about doing this? Oh, well, that would be awesome. You know what? You know. What's going on with the Elwood Police Department? Is there, you know, we got into a conversation with the Elwood Police Department, because that was around the time there were a couple bills going through the House that Elwood is one of the 35 municipalities. New Wilmington's one of them too, that owns their own electric company, and there were some issues surrounding that. I actually went down to Harrisburg and spent a day lobbying on it, but that was like literally I got sworn in on January 2nd of 18, February 13th, I think, of 18, I was in the car on the way to Harrisburg, you know, ready to go fight for municipally owned power. But anyway, you know, just incredible dynamic conversation that I learned so much about Elwood. Just through that one conversation. You have more and more and more and more of this as you go through the county. It's incredible.
Yeah, and you know, talking with those people, it's important. Elwood, you know, Elwood's pretty close to where I'm at, and they, you know, it's a town that, you know, it's like Newcastle. It's like Newcastle. It doesn't have the mantra that Newcastle carries, but it you know, you can see the similarities. You can definitely see that, and so it's important to, you know, that you're going to maintain those communications with people. You know, we've got one last question. What? No, we got two. I'm sorry. So Millennium Park, I don't know what that is, to be honest with you.
It's a business park in Neshannock.
Okay, so you're gonna promote growth in Millennium Park.
I mean, the goal is to promote growth anywhere that will take growth.
Anywhere in the county.
Yeah, anywhere in the county. I'm not just focused on, you know, Neshannock is one component. It's a big component. It's the largest tax base in the county. But Millennium Park is, you know, their infrastructure is largely there. They don't have natural gas for some reason. I never understood that one. There's no natural gas hookups, so that's the first step to trying to bring new businesses into Millennium Park. The second step is, you know, going in, structuring some targeted tax credits. You know, what do you want to attract? Yeah. Because, you know, everybody wants to. We're gonna target everything. Everybody, you know, that's just not. To me, in a town like Newcastle, in a county like Lawrence, you need to have something that this is us. Whether that be arts, whether that be, you know, old historic Lawrence County, whether that be tech. We brought up tech earlier. Whatever that may be, go in, target that sector of the economy, structure targeted tax credits and targeted tax incentives to bring those companies in. The cracker plant. Everybody talks about the Beaver County cracker plant. And actually, I always laugh because, give me 1 second. I love these things. These were a waste of money.
I can hear you.
I bought these today.
I can hear you fine.
We're good. All right, say something.
I can hear you fine.
Good. I can't. Problem is these are the
Oh, they're no.
It's for me. I think it's like every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes or so for some reason.
I build redundancy around like everything. You
did it smart. I did it. I went to Walmart this morning and bought headphones. And I didn't buy a second pair, although I should have. But anyway, going back to the cracker plant. We always hear all this talk, and I put a video out on it yesterday.
Yeah.
On my feed. But we always hear all this talk about the cracker plant, but no one had ever bothered before I actually went out and sought out the information to say, here's how we're going to utilize the cracker plant. So the cracker plant, for anyone that doesn't know, very basic, produces ethylene, which is used in industrial production processes. Especially plastics is a heavy user, so is ammonium, which is a key component of fertilizer.
So wait, is it refining petroleum?
No, they pull up natural gas out of the pellets out of the ground, and those contain ethane, and the plant processes them into ethylene. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I don't know exactly what the material is that they're bringing in, but in goes ethane, out goes ethylene. But it's used. The ethylene is used in the production processes for ammonium and especially plastics. This is 2 examples. Now, the primary producer of ethylene in the United States is Gulf region. Well, up here, because of things like Marcellus Shale, the cost of production is 30% cheaper.
Oh, wow.
Ethylene. Yeah, than the Gulf region. And transportation costs are 22% cheaper here than they would be in the Gulf. So right there, you have potential to draw. And then the other thing is, and everybody always talks about our transportation networks. I've never heard anyone say this is how we're going to leverage. Like, oh, we have these transportation networks. Great. What are we going to do with them?
Yeah. You're talking about the railroad and the
railroad, the highways, the access. We have the municipal airport. We have 45 minutes from the Pittsburgh. We have great transportation grids, but the real gem of them that we need to be out there promoting is that 70% of U.S. manufacturing centers lie within 600 miles of so yes, and that's coming from, it was either county planning or there's a group up in Titusville that does this research. 600 miles of Lawrence County. Massive potential for logistics enterprises.
If it's marketed correctly.
Yeah. But yeah, you can attract something like that into Millennium Park. Look at especially plastics producer. I would probably put a fertilizer plant as far away from civilization as humanly possible. But there's potential for one, and I think it fits into again, the number one industry in Lawrence County is agriculture.
Yeah,
it fits into that well.
Yeah, it works well. It all ties together as a system. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely I dig that answer. I think that's some real futuristic growth. That will we be a tech company? Not not in the next 3 years, but is that a real possibility right now? And that answer is yes. That could happen yesterday. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing that I do want to touch on there. Our focus is, and I think everyone's focus, because there are these, if you can land one, it's a massive economic boom. The problem is landing one because it's highly competitive, is going after these large scale industrial projects. I don't think we're ready for that. I don't think Lawrence County is ready for large scale industry again. We just don't have, number one, we really don't have sites. Number two, we don't have the labor force to supply a large scale manufacturing unless it's heavily automated, at which point, there's costs and benefits. Like, for example, the Hickory Run Power Plant, which is out in North Beaver Township, is upon completion, is only going to generate 20 jobs, according to the company. The Hickory Run Power Plant accounts for 86.3% of all development going on in Lawrence County.
Wow.
It's by the numbers, it's an $863 million power plant. There's roughly $1 billion worth of investment going on in the county. So that being said, and I said this in Meet the Candidate, but 86.3% of all development in the county is only going to generate 20 jobs.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable growth. But my thought process is the first thing you work on is building out a bedroom community where you're able to attract younger families, get younger families from Pittsburgh, where you have the cost of, like, my residence is in New Wilmington, but I had an apartment down in Pittsburgh for whenever I had to spend the night down there for CNU.
Yeah.
I paid $2,000 a month for that apartment. Here, I could have paid 4 mortgages for 4 houses for $2,000 a month. Seriously. So you have the cost to acquire housing is extraordinarily inexpensive here. You can use that as a factor to drive homeownership, young family homeownership here. Structure, and I'm big in tax credits, if you can't tell, but structure tax credits towards, first-time homeowners assistance, right? Grants for first-time homeowners. The average age of a first-time homeowner is like 33. Which are the individuals that you want to, from there, once you get a nice bedroom community developed, you can start seeing, because you need population to support small businesses, restaurants, things like that.
And a 33-year-old in debt is a great worker, is a hard worker.
Yeah, we can. I can attest to that.
I know from personal experience. No, it's true. Think about it. Think about it.
True.
You're not gonna do anything wrong if you just got to go to work, and that's what a lot of Newcastle people want. That they want that white picket fence dream, and it's really in reach. It's really in reach. We just got to tweak some things around. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. But then, once we build up a nice population of younger individuals, which we know are the demographic that's most likely to spend money on things like, going out to an entertainment district or restaurants, spending money on entertainment, on non-durable consumables. Yeah. And so now you have a small business base. Now you have a nice, from there, I think you can start attracting large scale industry. Because A, you have the labor force, and B, you have a downtown area that's attractive to workers that might need to come in. Because the first thing any company does when they're looking at where they're going to headquarter a large industrial plant, whether they do it on purpose or not, they're driving through the downtown area of wherever the nearest city is where the plant's going to be, whether that be to get food or a hotel or whatever.
And they ask themselves, "Do I want to live here?"
Exactly. Yeah. And so they're looking around. Think about it, if you, as a guy that you're from Nashville, let's say you'd never been to Newcastle before. As a guy coming from Nashville, has this great idea, wants to start a plant, you drive through downtown Newcastle, and then you drive through downtown Hermitage. Where are you putting the plant?
For the record, I'm from Mahoningtown.
I do that.
Okay, but
you were down in Nashville before. Yeah, you came back.
The thing is the answer is, I can't answer that. The answer is that I can't answer that honestly. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to lie to you and say Newcastle. But no, I get, I'm kidding. Yeah. But I get your point. I definitely get it. And this is something that, I have one of my best friends. He called me yesterday to ask me how the debate went. He doesn't watch, he doesn't have the time, but, and he said it best. He said, that's what a CEO is going to do. He's going to drive through that town. He's going to talk to the people, and he's going to figure out, he's going to say, is this a place I want to raise my family? Yep. And that's something to be very cognizant of. And absolutely, if you're looking through downtown and you're saying, what's the value, if you don't value your own downtown, if you don't, if it's the soul of your city, and that's the soul of our city, and that definitely needs to change.
Yeah. So that's my vision essentially. Is first step is making Lawrence County attractive for individuals who don't want to pay pay the housing costs of Pittsburgh, bring them to Lawrence County. It's not a very far drive. I've done it a lot. I'm sure you've done it a lot. A lot of us do it quite often. Cheap housing stock, reasonable prices for food. The community, I think, is very strong. I think that when you get into, downtown city areas, everyone just becomes a face. But here, you can walk through downtown. You can walk through downtown Newcastle, downtown New Wilmington, any of the walkable communities. You're going to recognize someone.
Yeah, it's small enough. At this point, we have legacy. We have legacy people, legacy families, legacy last names, and things like that. That happens. It's a very cliquey town. There's no denying it. But yeah, absolutely. It's something that we need to work on.
Mm-hmm. All right. What do you got? Is he running for committee? Yeah, I'm running for the Republican nomination for county commissioner.
So that leads us into our next and final question. And you said you really wanted this one. It was an interesting one.
It's just such an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Wait. I can hear you. All right, we're good.
Morgan Boyd's Bluetooth batteries are running out, so we're gonna.
Yeah, I don't know. What the
final question, and then we are going to. I'll let you get back to it, but so would you back a change in county government effort to an executive council system? And that comes from Peso.
I love that question. That's such an interesting question. And I wish I could, give you a yes or no answer on that. But the short answer is it depends, just because there's so many different ways to structure. The county tried to go to so to do that, you need to do a home rule.
Right.
That's because the state mandates, like Lawrence County is a 5th class county. The state has a certain set of regulations and structure that the county government has to follow unless you do a home rule. So to do a council form, you'd have to home rule. Allegheny County did that. They're in home rule. That's why they have, Fitzgerald as the executive and then a council. So we tried to do that a couple years ago. I forget exactly what year it was. And it was my understanding that, among other things, it was hung up on who gets to have a seat on the county council. Yeah. Because it's essentially the same question when we were found in the country. You have these big states and little states, who gets representation? And obviously we decided, on a federal level, the House and the Senate. A House and a Senate's not practical for Lawrence County.
Yeah.
So, that I think is a key question that you'd have to analyze before answering that, right? Who gets a seat on, is it going to be an at-large? Is it going to be, different regions? Will each municipality get one person? Will it be weighted on population? That kind of question. The other thing that I would be hesitant about before jumping into that is, and we touched on it at the beginning of the interview, I'm not sure having one person as a county executive is the best method for making decisions. I think you'd come to decisions a lot faster because it's one person. Yeah. But in my mind, local government works best when there's multiple different people at the table. And I get the council serves that function, but I think it's important for the executive as well. So it depends on how you structured it. I would want to see, before answering that question, a pretty comprehensive study. We're going to structure it this way. This is why it's the best way to structure it. You think Newcastle should go to home rule? Yeah. Yes. To me, that's the only way at Act 47. Just, you're not, there isn't, once you lose that EIT, you're not going to have the revenue to recoup through other means. To me, the only way Newcastle gets out of this is home rule.
So if you were running, what would be
Running for mayor?
yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you were running for mayor, what would be your biggest agenda inside of Newcastle?
I mean, there's so many different problems in the city of Newcastle. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is the roads, but that's just because everybody talks about them. That wouldn't be the first priority. The first priority is growing revenue streams.
That's something that's something I've been preaching for a long time, is that, roads get fixed when the company says, okay, well, we're going to put a giant building here and let's just get these roads cleaned up because we're driving trucks through.
My favorite was when Domino's Pizza went around and just filled in potholes. They did that for like a month.
Oh yeah.
Not in the city of Newcastle, but like they ran an ad campaign where, the governments aren't fixing these potholes, we're going to go do it for them. And there were pictures of like potholes filled with like a Domino's stamp on the pothole.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Companies involved like that, the small companies, hey, if you're out there, and you're a small company and you want to do something, there's a solution. There's something you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Those unique marketing ideas, where everybody's helping out is definitely good.
Yeah.
So your answer to that is immediately grow the revenue stream.
Yeah, and you do that through a combination of things. You have to work with the county in doing this, just because, we're right now in Act 47, right? The 47 coordinators, they're going to dictate at the end of the day where you get to spend excess money. So, if they're not agreeable to your solutions, you need to be able to find revenue elsewhere, whether that be through grant financing through the state, whether that be through county, leveraging some county funds, leveraging county assets in the land bank, things like that. But yeah, first priority would be growing revenue streams. I don't know exactly how I would go about that.
Because that's not your campaign.
That's not my campaign. I haven't looked at it.
Yeah.
What's interesting is everybody, when you think revenue stream, everyone always jumps to either we're going to increase the tax base or we're going to increase taxes. That's the first. I mean, those are the first two, and those are the biggest two. But municipalities have gotten very creative, especially locally, with raising, like the Wilmington Borough. We don't have property tax. We don't levy a single mill of property tax. Everything's paid for by, we own the electric company, and the electric rate is set at a market rate. And instead of those profits going back to the company, they go back towards paying for government services.
That reminds me, you operated at a surplus, didn't you?
Yeah.
You did, yeah.
The Wilmington, the council. I'm just one. I can't take member credit for that.
Yeah.
The council operate. Yeah, we've had, this year is probably going to be a little bit different, just because we are starting to cut things a little bit. We haven't raised our electric rates since 2006. So that's starting to tap. It's starting to cut into that because things are starting to get more. It's inflation indexing. Things are starting to get more and more expensive. And when you don't raise your revenues to accommodate that, you start to fall beat. But yeah, we operate largely, on surplus every year after year after year.
There you go.
It's just simple budgetary philosophy. Don't spend more than you bring in or you're projected to bring in. I mean, it's not that difficult. You do have to
you hear that? It's not that difficult.
It's really not. I mean, you use a weighted average against your, you look at the past few years in the budget. You use a weighted average. You say, okay, past 5 years, we spent $1 on this, $2.16, $3, and $4 or $5. It averages out to $3. So you say, all right, we're going to spend $3. You go through that for every line item on the budget. You come to a projected analysis, and you just don't spend more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. Yeah,
we're spending.
I mean, the county just had to use over $1 million. The county, I think, had to borrow, it was either 1.2 or 1.3 million out of their fund balance to balance their current year's budget. Be like this budget. Which sometimes you have to do that to pay for infrastructure projects, large scale projects. So I don't have a problem with that. But if you do it time and time and time again, your fund balances are going to be zero.
Yeah, and that's a problem. That's a huge problem.
That's a huge problem.
So, all right, Morgan Boyd.
Right. Are there any questions before we go
from the crowd?
Yeah, any crowd questions? Because I can't see them.
I can, and we'll give we'll talk for a second and we'll see if we can get some questions in.
Yeah, if anyone wants to ask any questions, I'll answer pretty much anything.
Yeah, pretty much anything.
Pretty much anything. I'm gonna qualify that. Pretty much any.
pretty much.
Pretty much anything.
Keep it PG.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm gonna try and get them in real time because it's slow to come in here.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Is there any? Do I have a question left? Maybe. Let's see what we got. No, there was one. There was one, and there was a couple that just like sort of disappeared. No, they're just all compliments. Everybody's just complimenting you. That's it.
That's always good to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in that case, we may as well. If anyone out there that's watching this currently, or anyone out there that goes in and watches this after the broadcast is over, wants to contact me or talk about anything, my number for anyone that wants it. And again, this goes back to being accessible. Cell phone. Yeah, here's my cell phone: 724-730-9977. So I'll say that one more time: 724-730-9977. So
here we go. How would you raise ravines?
I mean, ravines you can raise by moving a lot of dirt.
Raise it is easy to say. So that means, I think they're saying revenue.
They are. They're definitely, yeah. No, and I'm with you 100%. Raising it is easy to say. The first thing you do, and again, I go back to things like bringing in business, looking at a business incubator, working with a nonprofit which is what Youngstown's is structured as a nonprofit, to try to bring out some small businesses. So you start there. The second thing you do is you work to structure tax credits. And this is coming from a county level, just because on an individual city level, 1 second.
You're good.
Or can I just talk?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, wait, I got him on. I got him back. Got him back.
Yeah, you cut out for a second, but yeah, it's fine.
I got him back. I was laughing a little bit. One of the city council candidates for Newcastle City Council had the idea of leasing out land for lumber companies in the city of Newcastle to come in and chop down trees, which, I appreciate it because, it's a policy solution. For better or for worse, you put out a solution, for public debate. But no, I go back to, you work to attract small businesses. You do that by structuring a environment attractive to small businesses through the use of business incubators, tax credits, low interest loans. You do that by leveraging your regional assets, right? Ours is agriculture. Actually, this is an interesting stat. Lawrence County is in the top 12 percentile of Christmas tree producing counties in the country.
Top what?
Top 12%. Yeah,
Christmas
according
trees.
to the Department of Agriculture.
We grow a lot of pine here.
But so yeah, you work on things like that. You work on making it attractive to younger families. Just because, income tax is huge for local municipalities, cities, boroughs, townships. And yeah, to me, that's how you grow it. Yeah.
Those are the big ones. Those are the big ones. So what do you do? Just out of curiosity. So those are the whys, but how do you do it? Do you get on the phone? Do you build the relationships? What exactly?
A combination of everything. You absolutely, you get on the phone and you call up company, call up some of the restaurants in Beaver. I'm glad you threw caveat on there before something insane got asked.
I'm pretty sure that's Michael Delai saying that. I'm 99% that is who said that.
I love it. But yeah, you get on the phone, you reach out to a restaurant, maybe in Beaver, maybe in Pittsburgh, You say, hey, would you, do you want to expand into Newcastle? What would it take to get you to expand? What would it take for you to open a second location here?
In Nashville, they've got guys with the Tennessee logo that show up at your business and say, hey, listen, there's tax credits if you do this. Do you plan on hiring people? How can we work with you to grow your business? And I always loved the idea of the county having a team of people like that just show up at the business's door and say, hey, how can we help you? What do you need here? And just get a big list of demands.
So that's another thing. We have an economic development agency in Lawrence County. And for years, I don't want to, they didn't get the job done. There's a new CEO there, Alex McCoy. I am optimistic, cautiously optimistic that he'll be able to transform that agency into something more functional. But that could easily be a function of that agency. Hire a couple people and say, all right, go out, we'll get you polos. We'll get you guys some matching polos, maybe a hat. Go out to the areas surrounding us and see if you can attract some people. That's awesome. I love that.
I'm a medium in polo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep that. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
Scott McCoy. Was his name? Alex McCoy. Alex McCoy, call me.
But yeah, doing things like that. The other thing is, there's two very basic ways of, the first is you attract businesses that want to expand from the outside. The second is you work with local entrepreneurs that might have an incredible idea, but don't know how to execute it. And yeah, absolutely. Absolutely on that comment. But anyway, you get, potential businesses that potential people that might want to start a business in your community that might, they have this incredible idea. To work with individual, Paul Bucarelli with the, he works for Duquesne University, and they have I forget exactly what the name of it is, but they'll help you write a business plan. Work with him, bring that person back in, provide them with a space, provide them with, incubator support or small business support. This is also another interesting, this is almost like a tangent now. But there's something called the Beehive, which is a string of colleges. A string of colleges got together all over northwestern Pennsylvania, and they said, okay, this call, maybe it's Mercyhurst. You guys are going to help the business owner write a business plan. Now we're going to take it down to Gannon. You guys are going to write the sales plan. Now we're going to take it to Westminster, and Westminster's not in it. I'm just using Westminster as an example. Right. To actually develop a prototype. Actually, I think that might have been, I don't know what college develops the prototype or whatever, whatever they need. Now we're going to work on, so the colleges, they strung them together and essentially used it to form a, very basic, this is start a business, right? Business plan, marketing plan. Here's your prototype. Here's, market research. But something like that. So yeah, it's helping local small business owners or local people that might want to open a business, provide them with the resources and the capability to do so. Get them in the room with the experts, work with them to make a business plan, get their sales pitch ready to go to the bank and get a loan. And then working, put on your polos, pick up your cell phones and go out to the other, local communities. And, are you willing to expand? What's it going to take to get you to Newcastle and Lawrence County? Yeah.
Do you plan on hiring more people? There's these opportunities here, how can we,
not only that, but, we have, enterprise zones. We have opportunity zones here. We have.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets about the opportunity zones, but there's such a growth, potential. So an opportunity zone, essentially, from my understanding, is their census tracts. They're designated. They were created as part of tax reform back when tax reform passed did it pass in 16 or did it pass in 17?
I want to say 16. I'm almost certain it was 16.
Yeah. So back in 16, when tax reform passed, they created something called enterprise or opportunity zones. And what you can do with an opportunity zone is, when you sell a stock, your tax is levied against you called capital gains tax.
I was wrong. 2017. Sorry. Yeah.
It doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
But you can reinvest, instead of paying the tax on that, you can reinvest that capital gain into an entity focused on development in opportunity zones and get tax deferments on that gain. Is essentially what it is. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah.
So you can like leverage things like that. Newcastle has, I think, 4 census tracts are opportunity zones. You got 4 census tracts right here where anybody that that just sold some stock can go in and say, I want another investment mechanism. I'm going to put it into this nonprofit, which is focused on maybe a business incubator. Work with them to grow that. You see returns. They're tax. You can get discounts on your taxes, and grow it that way.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's absolutely, but there's people out there that, they're saying to themselves, yeah, I want to do that, but I don't know the steps. And that's why it's so important. Exactly. It's so important that policy professionals come in and say, let us help you. Let us walk you through these steps. And
the number one thing, the most important thing in any government is professional staff. And we do have a lot of outstanding individuals in county government, but that's always an important principle for me, at least. The most important thing is you have professional and knowledgeable staff on, issues that you're targeting.
Yeah.
Because they can do things like that. They can structure awesome programs that, work to attract businesses, or, leverage opportunity zones or enterprise zones or whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, there's when I had experience working with the Indiana government, that's what they did. They held our hands through the entire process. They drove us around, they showed us places, they were very enthusiastic about getting us to come in and work with them in any facet. So it was a great experience. And if there's something like that here, I don't even know it exists. So,
and that's part of the problem is, on the county website, right off the bat, there should be development or business opportunity or something that you click it. And we do have economic development has a list of funding sources on their website, which is interesting. And I recommend, anyone interested in that, go check it out. But here's for development, for example, if you're going to build a building, a lot of people don't know how to navigate that red tape because there's a lot of red tape associated.
Sure.
You have to have environmental impact studies. You have to do, for a large scale one, you might have to do a photometric study, right? How are the lights going to impact surrounding communities? You have to make sure your zoning's all in approval. You might have to go before a zoning hearing board. You might have to go before the planning commission. You might have to, someone needs to be available on, local levels to help walk those, walk prospective developers or walk prospective business owners through the bureaucracy.
And one of the biggest things I'm allergic to is bureaucracy. I absolutely hate it. So, had there been somebody to hold our hands through those processes, it might be a different world for us nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, all right. So, Morgan Boyd's. No,
this is fun.
Throw those in the trash after this.
No, I got a 15-day return policy. We're returning them. We're getting the money back.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I always big fan of wired headsets. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of headsets. Audiophile is what they call them. Huge fan of it.
The sound quality on these is awesome. It's just they're not staying on.
What good is that when you can't hear every 5 minutes?
If you can't hear the sound quality.
If you're gonna get anything, Pixel Buds. I have a set of those. I swear by them. So,
I'll check those out.
Yeah. If you go to any different country, you can translate with them too, which has come in handy a few times.
Oh, that's cool.
But all right, Morgan Boyd, give us your final statement. Let's let these nice people go home and finish their day.
Absolutely. Look, if I'm elected, I will, every single day I'm going to get up and I am going to work my butt off to try to bring some positive change into the county. For the past however many years, we've been pretty much stagnant. Our population is down, I think, 6.5% over the course of the past 20 years. In terms of percentage, of households with children, right? We've gone from 22% of households consisting of families with children in 2000 to 15% right now. Every day I'm going to wake up and try to reverse those trends. And, I think I'm in a position, through both, my experiences on the Wilmington Borough Council, right? I went in there, I rewrote our entire zoning code. Every single page, it's going through, our planning commission is looking at it right now, because in order to pass zoning changes, they have to go through, there's a big process. The first step in that is going through the local planning commission. Rewrote the entire code. Structured the first, I'm sanitation chair, structured the very first hazardous waste, electronic waste curbside collection program in the county, where if you have an old TV or a can of paint, quarterly, go set that on the curb, and our trash collection services will come and pick it up for you. No hassle, no worries, no nothing.
Wouldn't that be nice countywide?
Oh yeah. It's an awesome service. We've had nothing but, and you know what? We had to raise the fee for that. It was $15 extra a year. And council signed off on that. And
we're paying, I think it's like $6 now to pay for when it rains off our roofs now. I think that's what it is now. So I don't think people would have a problem with that. Yeah,
exactly. Nobody, and we've received nothing but compliment. It's been an outstanding. But anyway, structured programs like that. I got our planning commission restarted. It had been defunct for about 10 years. I jumped on it. I asked council to appoint me to planning commission. Council appointed me to planning commission. We got rid of some members that maybe had been there too long. We brought on some new members. We got them trained up. And now we're able to pass zoning laws again. Now we're able to go through subdivision processes again for the first time in a decade. Education at Carnegie Mellon is top notch. In the room with the guy that put together the Amazon deal for Pittsburgh. In the room with the chief economist for the FTC. Constantly have outstanding those connections down in Pittsburgh. Have an incredible knowledge base from those individuals, and I plan on using those resources, right? Both practical experiences in government, writing policy, and educational experiences through policy school to really bring about some positive change.
Well, that's a lot. Listen, guys, this is, I don't say this, and I'll probably never say this again, but I truly feel that this guy's going to be in the Senate within the next 10 years, and at minimum running at a strong Republican candidate for a general election. At minimum, we'll see him there. I strongly believe that. Let him be your commissioner for a while. Let him show you what he can do on that, and then eventually we'll vote for. Go ahead.
And let me say this too. And I put a video out on this the other day as well. I think that, a lot of times we complain because the same people get into office year after year after year, and we see stagnation. I've come out and I've said, for better or for worse, I'm term limiting myself. I will only do 2 terms because honest to God, I believe that it's always good to have new people with fresh ideas, fresh faces come in. I was talking to a couple of the line officers, and they made the statement that the torch had gone out. So my goal is to go in there, restart that torch, and pass it off to a successor that's hopefully able to take it and continue growing the county.
That's Morgan Boyd, a legacy of success since you were 19 years old. Man, I really thank you for being here. We can't, obviously, guys, we can't promote any one candidate, but I mean, I just drive past my house and just see what I'm talking about.
Thank you, by the way. That's prime real estate.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So that's Morgan Boyd. I'm Dan F. And thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Morgan Boyd. That's it. Unless you got anything else to say, we're going to end the broadcast. All right, stick on. I'm going to end the broadcast now. We are.